Hi, this is Scott from Specter Gear. For today's product spotlight, I'm going to be talking about a subject that I've wanted to talk about for quite some time. I'm going to work very hard not to turn this into some kind of, political rant or some kind of rant about whatever today's indignities are. But rather, I want to talk about a line of gear that is poised to become very relevant in the very near future. Now, it's kind of the reason I've waited as long as I have to talk about this stuff and why we kind of lean so heavily into this type of gear is because up until very recently, when you would talk about things like this, there were some people who would be a little hesitant to buy into the concept. That whole, it can't happen here, that'll never happen to us, that'll never happen to our constitutional republic, and I think we all know what we're talking about here. I have to kind of dance between the raindrops on how I present this information. But those are also the famous last words of the citizens of Rome, Babylon, the Carthaginians, you name it. I can list hundreds of civilizations, empires, and governments that didn't think it could happen to them either, and it did. What we're facing right now is dire. I mean, it is really dire. Now, it's all good and well to listen to the talk radio nonsense that people have been talking about. At least I've been listening to it for 30 some odd years. The weird thing is a lot of those things guys were saying 30 years ago are coming to fruition. They were right. And I scoffed at them myself back then and thought they were a bit over the line, maybe, propeller heads, tinfoil hat wearing individuals, whatever. Everyone's been called that at some point or another when they brought this up, but I think everybody kind of at the moment is looking at this going, oh, okay, it's about to be on. What that is, how that'll turn out, I don't know. I hesitated to call this a pro tip video because I'm not a pro in this area. I'm a student of this kind of stuff. I have been my whole life. But we don't really have any pros at dealing with what we're potentially going to be dealing with here very soon, because it's unprecedented. Everything is going on. Every week, something terribly unprecedented is going on, and none of it is good. So a lot of us that have been, either working as cops, military, ex-cops, ex-military, well-armed citizens, etc., people on what I call our side, and I think we can all kind of agree, if we're, gun owners and we believe we should adhere to the Constitution, we respect the fact that we're a constitutional Republican form of government, on and on it goes. That's kind of our side. So let's just use that term. The other side is any number of insane people that essentially are looking to tear this system down, because you can't impose a new form of government without first destroying the one that's currently in existence. And I think we're seeing that occurring now. Just looking at what happened just yesterday in Chicago. Again, unprecedented event after unprecedented event after unprecedented event. So we are definitely on the rocket sled to something bad. Now, what does this mean to us as people that own guns, have gear, and are looking to either protect our communities, our family, what have you? A lot of us are reevaluating the kind of equipment that we're fielding, because moving forward, when things get pretty dicey, the responses we had from a couple of years ago are not going to be effective. They weren't really all that effective a couple of years ago, but they're going to be very counterproductive moving forward. The idea of showing up to some kind of protest or event or with a key moment and showing up in full battle rattle with an AR on your back, you may have been able to pull that off a couple of years ago. And like I said, I don't think that was effective either, to be honest with you. But moving forward, as things get more critical and get more real, that kind of stuff isn't gonna fly. I think most of you know the principles of camouflage, and the basic principle of camouflage is to blend in with your environment, not draw attention to yourself. If you show up and there's a group of people and they're kind of dressed normally, and then you got the insane agitators that show up with their skinny jeans and their black helmets and their scarves and stuff, we know who those folks are. When the people start showing up in full battle rattle with ARs and stuff, everybody knows who those folks are. They are basically standing out and targeting themselves. my principle, even a couple of years ago when the weird stuff was going on and I would go to check that stuff out, I showed up looking like just any normal shrub from the neighborhood. I didn't have anything on, and I've kind of always been like this, and I'll kind of backtrack just a little bit. I used to teach officer survival, in addition to the force topics that I taught: weaponless defense, impact weapons, firearms, etc., tactical stuff. But officer survival was another topic that I carried. And one of the elements I talked about in officer survival was off-duty officer survival. And I used to talk about being certain not to wear what we used to call the shoot me first outfit. Now back then it was the photojournalist vest, some 511 pants or BDU pants, some kind of hat with a gun company on it. All these kind of things are basically, they draw attention. They certainly do. And basically they tell anybody there, if anything gets weird, shoot that guy first. And it is entirely possible that you could be dressed thusly, walk into a situation that you don't even know what's going on. You could walk in on an armed robbery, not be aware of what's happening, and they see right away you're a gun-carrying individual. They're going to do you right on the spot. It's happened. It's happened a lot. So I used to tell my guys, don't do that. You want to dress in nondescript clothing. You don't want to draw attention to yourself. That whole gray man thing, you really want to buy into that. I don't have any bumper stickers or anything on my car. I drive around town here and I see people that have the stickers in their back window with their family portrait, which is an FNFAL, M16, an M4, a little Uzi, and a little MAC-10, and a pistol, and that's their little family. All of those kind of things, having insured by Smith & Wesson on your bumper, all that's going to assure is that someone eventually is going to break into your car looking for a gun. It's also going to assure that if anything weird is going on and you're driving through an area, you've now targeted yourself. So thus, when things start getting weird, moving around with plate carriers, helmets, ear pro and a rifle on your back, all you're doing is putting a target on yourself. You're just telling people, take an interest in me, pay attention to me, and then when things get weird, make sure I'm the first person that you take out because I'm the obvious threat. You do not want to be the obvious threat. You want to be the unobvious threat. Thus, it brings us to this line of gear that we have. We in the past made plate carriers, molly pouches, all that kind of stuff for a number of reasons I won't go into here. Because of the economy, we had to reduce the scale and scope of our operations, and that was one segment that we cut out. It was okay, but it wasn't lucrative, and large parts of it just weren't worth doing. But one thing that we kept was we kept our belt kit. It's good not only for range use, and what I'm talking about here, by the way, is things like belt-mounted magazine pouches of various stripes, 10 round, 20 round, 30 round, shot shell, belt-mounted shot shell holders of different stripes and descriptions, speed loader pouches, pistol magazine pouches, a lot of different stuff. And we kept that, like I said, because it's good range gear. Oh, also belt-mounted radio pouches. We kept it because it's good range gear, but also it's very important gear moving forward, because something you're going to want to start thinking as you're setting up your kit is go ahead and build out your battle rattle. Build out your plate carrier, paint your helmet any color you want, do whatever you need to do, because there may very well be a time and a place where you're going to need that stuff. If it's full tilt boogie combat, you need all the gear that you can possibly put together that's going to make you more effective in the battle. But moving to that point, if it's a low scale asymmetrical warfare kind of situation where it's just basically the equivalent to Northern Ireland's sectarian violence, that I kind of see happening here. Just take the religious angle out of it and just add in right wing, left wing. You basically have the same thing. You're going to have one side that's going to be supported by the government in existence working against the other side. That's going to flip-flop at times and change. You're going to have collusion between the police and whoever the dominant force is. Look towards Northern Ireland. Seriously, look towards the Northern Ireland conflict, because if things pop here, it's going to be very, very similar. And again, something I've studied since I was, before I was even a teenager. I was having that stuff pumped into my head. So what you're going to be needing to add in addition to the battle rattle, is some low profile gear that's going to be effective. Now, dealing with dealing with the infrastructure and concealing the long gun, that's a thing in and of itself, whether you're going with an SBR with a folding stock or something like a Mini 14 set up with an AC 556 stock, which is something I might know something about, or short shotguns. Whatever it requires, you're going to need a long gun that fits into a very small envelope, like a backpack that has no molly on it. And I would get a backpack basically like something that has Hello Kitty or something on there. Throw your long gun in there. That's the easy part. The hard part is all the rest of the stuff. What do you do with the mags? What do you do with your radio gear? What do you do with all this other stuff? It's going to be bad enough if you have to fish your long gun out of a pack. Having to get the rest of that gear out and put it on, that's bad news. You should already be wearing that. So having something like a good rigger's belt, like our last resort belt, and then having attached to that maybe a couple 20-round 5.56 mag pouches, maybe having a 6-round shot shell carrier with a couple of these little 6-pack rigs that we have that hold 6 rounds in a very compact package. Stuff like that that's already on your body, locked in place on the belt under a cover garment, that's going to be the order of the day. Having your comm gear already on your belt, having low profile radios. On my radio channel, the KS6DAY channel, I have a whole thing on there about building out low profile radio kit, and I'm going to be doing a little bit more work on that in the future. Now, I'm not going to profile every single item on the table. This is literally stuff that I just randomly grabbed from around my office that I had handy. I am going to go through each of these items moving forward and just kind of talk a little bit about it once again, even though some of these things I've talked about before. I'm going to talk about it from a little bit of a different context moving forward and start profiling this. In addition, while we've been adding additional belt-mounted mag pouches and shot shell pouches into the line on an ongoing basis, this is something I'm actually going to be leaning into a little bit harder. For instance, next week sometime, you should see some 30-round 9mm SMG type mag pouches and some of the larger diameter ones that will accommodate like the HK or the UMP 45 mags and the Glock G 33-round Glock mags, 9mm and 40. So we're going to be fitting those in there because this is all kit, like I said, that's going to have some serious relevance moving forward. But the whole intent here is just a little bit of a talk about rethink what you're doing. Rethink camouflage. Remember, camouflage is blending into your environment. A lot of times we tend to think of camouflage just looking like a tree. It's face paint, it's either woodland BDU or multicam. But if you're in an urban environment, camouflage is more like comfortable hiking shoes, cargo shorts, a nondescript speed racer t-shirt or something. Stuff that's very low profile that doesn't scream, hey, I got a gun and I'm going to do something here in a few minutes. Things where you can move pretty effortlessly through areas without drawing very much attention to yourself. Right now is not the time to be drawing a crap load of attention to yourself and getting, I mean, we're all on lists, right? But you don't want to be on the most current list. That's my point. So with that, I think I'll bring it to a close. But like I said, moving forward, I am going to be talking a lot more about this stuff. And we are going to be leaning a lot more heavily in this stuff so that those guys out there that have to keep it low profile, whether you're, like I said, whether you're an armed civilian, whether you're a cop, whether you're a military guy, there should be something here that should interest you. So I'll leave links in the video description to where you can find this stuff on the website, and look forward to a few more videos here in the next few days talking about this stuff. So with that, bring it to a close. Thank you for watching and or listening. This is Scott, I'm sorry, I almost said my radio channel sign off. This is Scott from Specter Gear. One other reminder, all of these products, by the way, are manufactured right here in the United States of America in Visalia, California. And for God's sake, please be safe and keep a level head, okay? We're in weird times, so try to have a wonderful day.